Hello and welcome back to Jules Math Tools. In our session today, this is part 14 on applying our rules for distributive property. This is also the third part in where we are distributing a negative term to everything in our parentheses. And in this session, we are upping the ante and we're eliminating all the rough work at the side. So if you're ready to get started, so in our session today, we are applying our rules for our distributive property. And remember that in this session, we're using our rules for integers, we're using our distributive property, and we're also looking at our rules for our exponents. So there's a lot that's going to be going on in this session. So let's begin. So remember that when we're applying our distributive property, this means that our term on the outside of our parentheses is being multiplied to everything inside of the parentheses. So that means that my negative 5j will be multiplied to my negative c. And then we are going to take our negative 5j and we're going to multiply it to our 12j cubed. So as you go through these questions, remember, especially in questions where you're working with negatives and positives and exponents involved as well, before you begin simplifying, make sure that the negatives are where they should be and all of the exponents are in their correct position. That's to make sure that as you work through, you haven't left off anything and you are following all of your steps as you should, to avoid and eliminate as much errors as possible. So let's begin simplifying our first parentheses. Now, the first thing I'm going to tackle is working out my terms. So we have 5, J, and C being multiplied together. Now, since all of these terms are unlike terms, remember that we're just going to combine them together, because when we write them as 5, J, and C, this means that 5 is being multiplied to J and multiplied to C. Now let's work on our rules for our integers. Because I have a negative term being multiplied to a negative term, my answer is going to be positive, because a negative times a negative is equal to a positive. And remember that with your positive sides, you can write them with the plus sign, or you do not have to write it. Either way, it still means that the term is positive. Now let's work out our second parenthesis. So now we're going to be working with our rules for integers, our rules for exponents, and we're also calculating our coefficients. So let's begin with our coefficient first. So I'm multiplying a 5 times 12. So 5 times 12 is equal to 60. I have my lots of exponents because I have two like terms in my j's, and remember that when our j's are the same and we're multiplying, that means I'm going to add the exponents. And remember that my j, that is with my negative 5, has an exponent of 1. So I will be adding 1 plus 3, which would give me the exponent of 4. And now to work on my signs, I have a negative being multiplied to a positive, and a negative times a positive is equal to a negative. And I'm going to put those terms in parentheses. Now, of course, we are not completed with simplifying our expression. We do have two signs that are following each other, and we need to simplify those two signs so that we can have just one operation sign between our two terms. Now, in our rules for integers, we know that whenever a positive is being multiplied to a negative, this will give us a negative. So that means that we're now going to convert these two signs into one sign and make it a minus or a negative sign. And we're going to return back our 60, our j, and to the 4. And this will be our solution in its simplest form. Okay, so there you have it. We just simplified another expression using our distributive property where we're using our laws of integers, our laws of exponents, and our rules for distributive property. And remember that as you practice these skills, it may seem complicated at first, but you begin to understand how the rules work, how they are applied, and how you should use them when you are solving these type of questions. So make sure that you get some additional practice in. And I know I did 14 different sessions, but if there is still something on the distributive property that I haven't touched on for you, make sure that you drop that in the comments below so that I can create a video for you and help you through walking through those steps on how to solve those type of expressions or even equations. But as always, I'll see you right here in the next session on Jules Math Tools, where the aim is always to make math easy.